Supervisors made heavy school budget cuts, leaving the school board to weigh the option of cutting all preschool programs. WDBJ7's Amaya Howard spoke with the superintendent about how these budget cuts will affect the county.
After Bath County's Board of Supervisors decided to cut the school board's budget by $400,000, the board is waiving the decision of closing all preschool programs at the schools.
It's kind of sad because our kids are our future.
Michelle Dressler planned to enroll her 4-year-old son into pre-K. She says this decision sets back youth education.
And that's not fair to our little ones that struggle. And I know many families that have kids with disabilities and everything. And it's putting a hold on them kids for their future.
Superintendent Dr. Rick Bowling says until a month ago, the only cut to the schools was transferring the responsibility of maintenance and transportation to the county. But when the Commonwealth gave the county $251,000 for funding, that's when the Board of Supervisors made more cuts.
Preschool is something you're not required to offer, and it is something that the vast majority of that cost comes from our locality.
The school board is considering cutting two main things: preschool programs and 2 out of 3 nursing positions.
So when you combine the preschool, the 2 nursing positions, the saving on the director, and a few pennies here or there and different things, that's how we got to the $400,000.
Bowling says cutting pre-K could be the easiest way to meet the budget, as it costs around $200,000. He's advocating to at least keep one.
Education is an investment, and I think if we have a funding problem, that we need to look at ways to bring revenue into the county, not just continuing to have conversations about cutting.
The school board plans to have further discussion about budget cuts on Tuesday. In Bath County, Amaya Howard, WDBJ7.